The flamboyant and controversial former Prime Minister of Italy, Silvio Berlusconi, has died. He was 86. One of the most dominant and divisive figures in Italian public life, the billionaire media tycoon and former Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi has died. He was 86. He led 4 governments between 1994 and 2011 and became the longest-serving Italian Prime Minister since the Second World War. But he was known at home and abroad as much for his private life as for his politics, facing a string of legal battles and scandals throughout his career. He died in hospital in Milan, from where our Europe editor Katja Adler has more details.
In a country famed for political drama, Silvio Berlusconi is arguably Italy's most memorable modern politician. Screaming headlines and scandals surrounded him. He remained a flamboyant, divisive figure abroad and at home right up to the end of his life.
I thought he was immortal. In any case, I am sorry. Even if I have different beliefs, he is a historic figure for what he did over all these years.
He lived long, but he'd become a totally marginalised figure in politics and society.
A former glitzy or sleazy, depending who you ask, business and media tycoon and owner of AC Milan Football Club, he used fans' Forza Italia, Go Italy chants to promise better things for his country. Silvio Berlusconi first burst onto football-mad Italy's political scene 3 decades ago, pledging a heady mix of straight-talking, intentionally non-politically correct, proud nationalism. The Berlusconi brand of modern populism, including jumping into coalition with Italy's post-fascist far right, shocked many, but also inspired other politicians in Europe and beyond. Silvio Berlusconi remained a huge fan of strongmen politicians like Donald Trump and also Vladimir Putin, with whom he had a close friendship.
This is a great loss, not only for Italy, but also for world politics.
The ties to Moscow worried Italy's NATO and EU allies, especially since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Voted Prime Minister 3 times over the years, Silvio Berlusconi died a key coalition partner in Italy's current government. But he will inevitably be remembered as much for his controversial, not-so-private life too. Who can forget the tales of the so-called bunga-bunga sex parties he enjoyed well into his older age?
And if I sometimes see a beautiful girl, I say, better to like girls than to be gay.
He was envied and loathed in Italy almost in equal measure. Silvio Berlusconi also spent years defending himself against charges of corruption, but he used Italy's tortuous legal system to ensure he never went to jail.
Silvio Berlusconi, Italy's flamboyant media mogul and politician who's died at the age of 86.
Silvio Berlusconi, the controversial former Italian Prime Minister, has died at the age of 86. The billionaire was a divisive figure, but was repeatedly elected back despite being dogged by allegations of corruption for much of his career. Among those paying tribute today was Russia's Vladimir Putin, who called him a true friend. Here's our Europe editor, James Mates.
The godfather of 21st century populism, the first leader of a major economy to defy all the rules of political behaviour, to connect directly with voters, who in turn forgave the most egregious, even downright illegal behaviour. At first it was thought this could only happen in Italy. We were soon to learn that other countries too could fall under the spell of their own versions of the charismatic, outrageous, unconventional Berlusconi. A cruise ship crooner who built a property empire, expanded it into a media empire that came to dominate Italy's airwaves, and who then sought political power, as much as anything to protect his own commercial interests. Forming a right-wing political party, naming it after a football chant, Forza Italia, he stepped onto the carousel of post-war Italian prime ministers, but unlike the others was not immediately pushed off. The longest serving, the first to serve out a full 5-year term, he had the power and the mandate to reform and transform his country. In the event, he preferred his notorious bunga-bunga parties, became ensnared in endless accusations of bribery, tax evasion, underage sex. Having doubled Italy's public debt, he was eventually driven from office during the Euro crisis of 2011 and then banned from returning for 6 years. On the world stage, he'd been a friend of Tony and Cherie Blair, famously inviting them to holiday with him as he recuperated in Sardinia from a hair transplant. He controversially backed President George Bush's invasion of Iraq, committing Italian forces, to the anger of many of his countrymen. And to the end, he remained a firm supporter of Vladimir Putin, even after the invasion of Ukraine. Putin today described him as a dear person, a true friend. Pretty much the nicest thing any leader has said following his death.
Silvio Berlusconi era soprattutto un combattente.
Italy's current Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, a right-wing protege of Berlusconi, called him a fighter, never afraid to defend his beliefs. Her coalition may struggle to survive without him and his party, but her country is at least now free of the cult of personality that dominated and in many eyes degraded its politics for almost 3 decades. James Mates, ITV News.